February 5th, 1852. One of the largest and oldest museums in the world, the New Hermitage Museum, opens in St. Petersburg, Russia. The most popular item in the gift shop, a single potato. Welcome to The Revisionists. I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
I had a slight vampire cadence to that one. I don't know if you picked up on that, listeners. That's right. The change has begun. And joining us for this very special night, you know him from Better Than Heroes.
Yeah.
You know him from Werewolf Radar.
You know him from Dropout Some, actually, and a commercial I saw recently for a bake.
Yeah, for something. I don't know what it is.
You don't know what it is.
Fellas, this has happened to me so many times where people are like, what's the commercial for? And I'm like, some kind of hospital technology.
Lockheed Martin?
I don't know. They asked me to wear a shirt in the pool. That I think the one, Zach, that you're talking about is blockchain. There's like a puppet. There's like a blockchain puppet, and that puppet wasn't there.
Yeah.
I never got to meet him.
There you go. That is the one.
Oh, you just hung out at his trailer the whole time.
Yeah, I tried to meet him. I was waiting at the trailer afterwards, but he never came back out.
It's Jordan Dahl, everyone. I just realized we never actually said your name.
Hello. We've been riffing for like 40 minutes already. The giggles are high.
Yeah. Well, you missed a lot of Albert Fish content.
Yeah.
And if you're the kind of person that feels like, we'll put out a weird fucking bonus episode for you.
Yeah. Or you can go down that Google fucking rabbit hole and make a dark day for yourself.
Maybe some of it'll be at the end. I don't know how many of our listeners know we put our extra This Day in History jokes at the end, but we do that every episode.
Nice.
Yep, that is true. I don't know how many people have sat around to figure that out, just because you need like an extra couple minutes to process what you just heard on the podcast.
My friend Roger Norquist, whom you fellas know, revealed to us recently that the first time he found out what a secret song is on a CD, he thought a ghostly happening was occurring to him. And
of course he did.
He had stopped. He had the CD had ended and he was fucking around and he heard creepy piano playing and he just walked out of his apartment, locked the door and waited for his girlfriend to come home.
Oh my God. I hate it when a ghost infects your Less Than Jake CD.
I love that. I wish it happened more often.
By the way, this is our first chance to really say it since it happened, since the news broke. Of course, R.I.P. Mighty Mighty Boss Tones.
Yeah.
I'm worried about that guy who dances on stage.
Yeah.
And does nothing else in the band.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones were in a plane crash in the Andes and they had to eat each other. That's the impression that I get anyway from the news.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, they got in a beef with Neil Young, and he put the Skinnerd curse on him.
No.
Rogan's next.
Wow, boy, Neil Young is kind of the thinner woman of the rock of the dad rock
world, yeah.
universe. The curse of Skinnerd. My God.
Skinner.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
God.
Of course, this podcast is usually hosted by three huge Skinnerd heads. Wait, no, that's not the thing to call that. Anyway, listeners, what we usually do on the show is we take a topic from history. One person presents the official Neil Young sanctioned version of events that you would hear on Harvest or any record by Neil Young and Crazy Horse, available wherever you get albums other than, Spotify, which is not where you get it. Anyway.
And then the other person gives you the real Joe Rogan experience.
I'm still getting all of my podcasts analog. I go out. Usually there's a guy selling them tapes out front of the King Soopers or something.
Yeah, you're a purist.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I'm glad you go to the guy and not the vending machine they put in.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Soulless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
it reminds you of your first podcast, which was just some tapes that Ted Kaczynski scolded.
Exactly.
Oh, man. If Ted Kaczynski had just like come of age in the podcast era,
right?
He'd be a millionaire.
Oh, and we would
smuggle some equipment into that prison, my guys.
And there
Florence isn't that far from Ryan.
And there would still be like the record of that, where it's like, you should listen to Ted Kaczynski's first 4 seasons of his podcast before they got him. It's pretty wild. He had a lot of DIY segments.
Yeah, it's like those songs that Charlie Manson wrote that you could still find just around. Yeah,
that Charlie Manson wrote.
Yeah. He was
Charlie.
Listen, you got to listen to the songs.
I don't know
Charlie
why
wrote them.
I think our culture is backwards. Okay, whenever somebody starts killing people, they get 3 names and it's all formal and shit. We should give them less respect when they're murderers.
Yeah,
John Wayne Gacy. Let's call him Johnny. Johnny Gacy.
Jackie G.
And Al Fish. Yeah.
Chucky Manson. Little Chucky Mance.
I mean, Ed Gein is kind of the exception that proves the rule there.
Yeah, he's the everyman serial killer.
Yeah, it's scary to hear people call him Eddie Gein too. You're like, oh, you kind of knew him and thought he was like a harmless adult.
Kind of the same with Jeff Dahmer.
Yeah,
Ed Gein is truly the Joe Sixpack of serial killers, and that he has a 6-pack that he cut out of somebody's gut.
Named Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
We did it. If you're listeners, you're tuning in smack dab in the middle of our mini series on con artists. Previous episode, we discussed Jean de Valois Saint-Remy and the affair of the diamond necklace. And I can reveal to you now, because I couldn't before, that the alternate history won out with from guest Shannon Camp. So thank you, Shannon, for that.
Where she still had a tragic fate, but like a different tragic. She successfully switched places with Marie Antoinette, which had issues.
Intrigue.
Yeah.
But now we're talking about, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Victor Lustig.
That's as close as I know.
Cool. Zach, you're doing the actual history.
I am doing the actual history.
Great. And Jordan, you'll be doing the alternate.
Yes, allegedly.
Perfect. Zach, whenever you're ready, then take us away.
Yeah. So Victor Lustig was born January 4th, 1890. So long time ago. Spoiler alert, this is one of the dead ones. Not one of
not one of those people who lived forever that you hear about.
Yeah, he's not 132 or 3 at this point.
We discuss very few revenants on the show, surprisingly.
He was born in Austria. The details of his childhood are somewhat vague because he was a poor person born in Austria in the 1890s.
Honestly, mine are pretty vague, and I wasn't. I don't remember almost any of it.
Apparently, he claimed a lot of this is just his testimony when he was arrested. But he said he was poor, lived with his parents at the beginning, and it stifled his opportunities. Eventually, he was sent to live with his uncle, which he hated even more. So at a very young age, he and his brother ran the fuck away in their young teens. They ran
just
a couple Australian boys. Sorry, I didn't realize Jordan was blowing some fat cotton.
I'm ripping vape over here, as I always do. Doctor prescribed. This is a medicinal vape.
God, medicinal vape is definitely some sort of like ska funk band.
That's my SoundCloud name. I'm a SoundCloud rapper. Medicinal vape. COVID come at me.
I love Jordan. Love your flow. Wonder if we could sort of toughen it up by like
that was the whole thing.
15%.
Not well. I don't want to get any real germs.
And every song with just kidding.
I'm just kidding. I'm just goofing around.
I thought that's what we were doing, guys.
Follow me on Twitter, unless I don't know.
So
Who shot you? I really want to know.
He runs away to Budapest, where his claim.
Damn, that's a good place to run away to.
It is, yeah.
That
sounds like a fun place to be a street urchin.
Yeah, that seriously, like that feels like, and you know, I know times are tough in Budapest. I know times are tough in Timbuktu, but there are a couple of silly sounding places where if you want to get far away from your mean uncle,
yeah,
as an Australian youth, you try to run away to, and that's the second most fun one.
And we know that it's Budapest. We know that.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, leave it alone. All right. So he claims that one day in Budapest, he looks up at a balcony and sees a rich man and a woman he's with. And
you can tell because the sun was shining right on him, just a beam, and it was raining on all of the poor people.
He sees a rich man while he's digging in trash for his supper.
God, come on.
Sees a rich man on a balcony with a woman. And they order a fancy, expensive meal is brought up to their hotel room, and they set it out on the balcony to eat it. And they are clearly romantically involved. Apparently, it soon becomes apparent to him that it's a prostitute that the man is with, a sex worker. And they leave to go into the bedroom, having not even touched their fancy meal. And he says at that point, he thought anybody who could leave a meal on the table deserves to be scammed. He also said it taught him not to trust women.
I feel like that was a kind of an added bonus.
Now again, this is him telling his own tale. So
yeah. You know, it just feels like he threw that in at the last minute. I was like, I think maybe this abject misogyny is coming from someone else, somewhere else there.
Yeah. I think there's a good chance he told these stories to he's trying to make himself look sympathetic. So he's just a little urchin. He sees this rich asshole.
Lighting a cigar with a lobster and then throwing it away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Using the lobster claw as some sort of roach clip, I guess.
Right.
Well, he got a flammable lobster.
If you're on fire.
Yeah. If you're rich enough, you can get a lobster that catches on fire.
Yeah. Come on, Brian. Get it together. You've never had a fire lobster.
Lobster flambe, Brian? You've never?
It hurts.
He decides, I'm going to go after that money, and I'm going to go after attractive women, and that's going to be my life. He and his brother, they start doing scams.
Yeah.
Doing scams, mostly with cards. You know, they're
cheeky. Oh, that's so cheeky.
Yeah. They say that Lustig could do anything with a deck of cards except make it talk. That's the thing they said about the guy.
Wow.
So he could power a small vehicle.
Yes.
And
it's meant to be taken extremely literally. Yeah. He cured cancer with a deck of cards.
A deck of cards.
Retell the plot of Flubber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he sawed a whale in half that was clogging up the dam.
Yeah, he was Gambit with the X-Men for a while.
And then he just sawed a regular whale in half, and people were impressed. But
yeah.
So he goes around Europe for a bit doing scams. He gets arrested a couple times, but nothing too serious. He gets out pretty quick.
That's that life.
He's a notorious flirt.
Yeah.
While he's in Paris one day, he flirts with a Mark, a French sailor's girlfriend, and the sailor takes umbrage with it. Smashes a wine glass and cuts him in the face with the stem.
Oh, use your cards.
I cannot rogue, mon chéri.
But Lustig turns this into a pro. He says that it's a scar from a duel of honor because he was highborn. And at the time, this was a thing a lot of people did. If you were Austrian German, you'll see a lot of people from that time with scars on their faces. If you left college or secondary school without a scar, it was considered like embarrassing.
Wow.
People would mutually scar each other, just get that face scar in that area at that time.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like the equivalent of like, oh, if we're not married by age 35, let's fucking cut each other's faces up.
Yeah.
So this guy,
scarless idiot.
this guy turns weaknesses into strengths a lot like this. Like this gives credence to the idea that he's like noble born. He's in duels and shit.
Sure.
Because
High
he has
charisma.
this face scar. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he then begins to book passage to the United States. He, in fact, books passage to the United States 4 times.
Okay.
What he does is he gets on a boat full of rich people, right? And they're stuck on a boat for several weeks with shit all to do. And he can con the fuck out of them for weeks on end. And they don't have any way of figuring out what happened, like fake money or anything like that, until they get off the fucking boat.
You'd think that after the first 2 or 3 connings.
Well, if he's like passing them fake bills or giving them fake promises, they can't check that shit until they're off the boat.
Coming back with a mustache, dressed up like a lady rabbit. I get it. He's fleecing these rubes.
Yeah.
What I love about that is Elmer Fudd is down to fuck a rabbit as long as it is a heterosexual relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another reason that he didn't trust women, because there was this lady rabbit that turned out to be Bugs Bunny and broke his heart.
Precisely. Yeah. We'll get to that part. Don't spoil it. Anyways, so he has said that he often did this with a translator. Like somebody, there was one of his accomplices says he's the only guy he ever saw who could smooth talk through a translator. And he even used that to his advantage, because when he dealt with Americans, sometimes he'd hire a translator, and having a fancy looking translator made it even more likely this guy was like a foreign nobleman.
Okay.
So
now he's Austrian
originally. Yeah.
I've been under the impression he was Australian this whole time. I'd like
Brian did say Australian.
What?
At some point.
Everyone.
You did at one point.
Those words have never crossed my... Well, I mean, yes, I've said the word...
Play the tape back.
We will play the tape back.
Listeners, write in. If I've ever used the word Australian, I apologize.
Stop saying it.
Sorry, now I'm just thinking about Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah. Another hero.
He meets a fella on one of his there's a few people who do this like boat scam shit. And he meets a guy named Nicky Arnstein, a German Jew from New Jersey who runs the boat circuit.
That is
I feel like that's how that whole phrase is how he introduces himself.
Nicky Arnstein,
a German Jew from New Jersey.
Yeah.
I run the boat circuit.
I rook folks on boats. That's what I do.
Arnstein teaches them the ropes a little bit, right? He's like, he teaches them stuff like, never ever push to play the game. Let the mark push to play the game.
Okay.
And you kind of act reticent because that builds trust. He thinks about this, and actually Lustig made a list of 10 con man commandments based on like some of these tips.
Con man.
And his favorite Biggie Smalls song.
Yeah. Would you like to hear the 10 commandments for con?
More than anything in the world.
Number 1, be a patient listener. This is not fast talking. This is the thing that gets a con man his wins.
Okay.
Number 2, never look bored. Number 3, wait for the other person to reveal their political opinions and then agree with them.
Interesting.
Number 4, let the other person reveal religious views, then agree with those.
Sure.
Number 5, you can hint at sex talk, but do not follow up unless the other person is interested.
Okay.
So far, a lot of this is also just like first couple date rules.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. There's a lot of there's a lot of crossover for better or worse.
Yeah.
West Elm Caleb used all of these.
Excuse me, I'd like to hint at sex talk, which is like so far removed that I'm not sure like when I would have crossed that line.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7, or is this 6? I don't know. They're not numbered. They're just dots. Never discuss illness unless someone has a special concern with illness, like they have a sick family member or they have some. Yeah. Never pry into personal circumstances, because the mark will tell you all their personal circumstances eventually.
Interesting.
By themselves. Never ever boast. Just let your importance be obvious to the mark.
Interesting.
Never be untidy and never get drunk. So,
well, I'm out.
Exactly. That last one, kind of a horror movie rule too.
Yeah.
So anyway, he moves on to America. About this time, World War I breaks out.
Okay.
What happens to him during World War I is unclear. According to a couple people who have studied the guy, the most certain thing about it is that he definitely did not fight for any side.
Sure.
He, after this point, begins to claim that he is an exiled count from the Balkans.
Sure.
Yeah.
That happened a lot. They drove the vampires right out.
For sure. Yeah, sort of a Nigerian prince play.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah,
there was a lot of war, kicking people out, So he moves on. He's got a scam where he and a Mark will find a wallet with a lot of money in it. They'll bring it back to his accomplice, who pretends to be a wealthy man, and they'll talk the Mark into being like, well, what he's going to do for us is he's going to place a bet on this surefire horse, and we'll split the profits of that instead of just taking reward money. And they'll convince the Mark to put in his own money to make the pot even bigger, and then they'll just run off with the fucking money.
Incredible.
on the champion horse.
Yeah, often they'll give him a bag with a few bills in it, but mostly fake bills, just to buy them a getaway time.
Sure.
Yeah, so you come up to them and going to be like, "Oh, I'm going to put whatever it was back then, $5 on what Daddy's Little Papa and the third, or
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Grandpa's
the
little
Hello
mailman.
Stranger. Yeah. So around this time, he moves on to Kansas City for a time, where he beats Roberta Norrit, who is a poor girl from Kansas. She has nothing to her name. And he is like, listen, I really like you. I'm a count. I could take you all across Europe, blah, 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 blah. And he actually does. Exactly.
Right.
He takes her to Paris. They have all the nicest shit because he's a successful con man. He's got the money. And they get married in New York in 1919. And he eventually tells her, like, listen, I'm not a count, I'm a con man. And she's like, that's fine. I was a poor girl with nothing in Kansas, and you're giving me nice shit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wait, so you're not actually a vampire?
She caught him in a mirror one day, and the lies fell apart.
He was just eating a head of garlic.
But I've seen you count.
I don't know what I'm doing.
I'm just guessing.
In 1922,
the bad thing is I'm an anamorph.
In 1922, they have a daughter named Betty Jane. He gives her the nickname Skeezix.
What?
Yeah, like a League of Legends character.
It's apparently the name of a Gasoline Alley character from the old comic book, but
okay, well, yeah. Remember when I said that my brother has kids? One of them is named Garfield, and the other one is named Normal.
Yeah, and of course, one is named Baby Blues, and Rose is Rose.
Yeah, he keeps them in money, and he has contingencies for like stuff. He teaches his daughter Morse code, apparently, and according to her, there's interviews with his daughter.
Skrillex?
Yeah. Skrillex.
Skittles? What?
So if they ever got arrested, he taught her Morse code so he could tap into her hand to be like,
dang, wow. Anytime you get arrested, or you could just kind of tell your kid, like, hey, don't talk to the cops when we ever get arrested.
Yeah, or like there's somebody suspicious, just so you can pass messages and stuff.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just jealous that I don't know tap Morse.
The next scheme, and Lustig mostly goes after kind of rich people, which is good of him.
Bit of a Robin Hood vibe.
No, I mean, he keeps it all, but he does go after rich people.
So it's a half Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Give him the old half Robin Hood.
So he has a land buying scheme. He goes to bank managers who like have land or something, and he's like, listen, I want to build a factory. I'm a foreigner, want to build a factory. And they show him some land.
That classic sales pitch.
Well, this was back in the days when that was still a plus.
For sure.
Yeah, that's fair.
They show him some land that's like shitty land, thinking he doesn't know what he's doing. and they overcharge him for it a lot of the time. And he'll be like,
Sure.
I'll take it.
For just that reason. A foreigner, eh?
So what he'll do is then he'll go with them to finalize the deal. They'll give him let's say they give him $25,000 or for the land. He gives them 20, like he's going to pay them 25,000. That's the settled price.
Right.
He says, I've got this note, and it's a real note that's like a bond or something that's worth $50K. It's the only thing I have in American currency. So you take this, give me 25,000 back, and we'll call it even. So what he does at this point is fakes a fucking heart attack in the office.
Wow.
Steals the real bond back out of the cabinet, takes the 25 grand, and is like, I've got to get to the hospital, and just skips fucking town.
Out of here. Holy shit.
That took such a turn from what I was expecting.
Yeah,
he's scandalo.
So he's out of there, skipping town with all the money.
Wow, incredible. There's stories like this. I know why I don't do these things, because I want to live in a world where people are trustworthy and we can, all live relatively calm lives, unshot at, and just kind of happy. But when you hear stories like this, there's a part of me that's like, man, why aren't you grabbing bonds? You've never jumped a steamer, and you've never even told anyone your account.
Yeah, some of these scams are definitely harder today, but
there's not a lot of counts running around, I suppose.
So now he moves on to his. Yeah. He gets bigger. Like as he goes, he gets bigger scams, and his next scam is called the Romanian box scam. Okay. But what he does, he gets thousands of dollars and $100 bills out of the bank. He files off the last serial number of every single one of those bills and makes them all the same serial number. Incredible. Now he goes to a mark. He finds, and as they talk, he's like, you ever heard of this guy something who got like in all kinds of trouble during World War I, right?
Yeah.
And like one of the countries in World War I wanted to flood another country with fake money, so they charged this guy who was mixed up in some shit with like making them a way to counterfeit any currency. And he did it, but it was too late. It was after the war was over. But this guy ran to be exiled with me because I'm a count, and I got the secret. So he pulls out this ornate box full of knobs and shit that don't do anything.
The Romanian box.
And he says, I put $100 in here, and then I put the money paper in here, and in 12 to 18 hours, a new $100 bill is going to pop out.
Incredible.
He waits with them for 12 to 18 hours, uses sleight of hand. Hey, there's a fresh $100 bill, same serial number. You can compare them. We'll take them to the bank, and they'll say it's real.
Incredible.
And so somebody buys the box. They for tens of thousands of dollars, up to $100,000. And then he skips town while they're waiting that 12 to 18 hour period for the next bill to appear.
This is so incredible. This is amazing.
Now, don't turn that knob on the box, because then Pinhead shows up.
I'll tell you what happens if you turn the wrong knob. Because there was a guy in Texas who's like, wait a minute, this is a scam, and actually managed to track him down to Chicago. And when he confronted him, he was like, you used the box wrong.
Oh my God.
I have to sell you a new box.
Holy fuck.
He sold this motherfucker a second box.
You got to be some kind of stooge for that, though. I mean,
and the great thing, the coup de resistance,
very Bugs Bunny,
is these people.
Truly.
These people can't go to the police because they were trying to counterfeit money.
Wow. Genius. It's crazy. And it's like, just as it seems that comedy would be so much easier in 1910, when you just had to get chased by a gorilla through the Paramount lot and it was on. Like, it seems like tricking people was easier, but it's just because we've heard about this stuff.
Yeah, it's true. And
nobody had thought of this before.
No.
I mean, to be fair, you had to be faster than a gorilla.
Sure.
For a long time.
Right.
Anyway.
You were either famous or dead.
So yeah, during this, he does get caught a couple times. He always gets out and doesn't get a conviction. It's probably bribes.
Yeah, sells the guard a fucking an invisibility cloak or something.
He also is traveling without his wife and daughter much of the time, because as a con man, you have to move a lot.
Yeah,
and he
you
wants
gotta have decoy daughters all over the country.
And he cheats on his wife a lot.
Yeah, sure.
There's a famous singer named Ruth Etting that he cheats on her with.
Okay.
He also goes to brothels a lot because madams are great people to point out potential marks. Like they know who the rich suckers are.
Naturally.
One madam that he meets in Pittsburgh, Betty Mae Scheibel, who pulls in $250K a year from her brothel. Like this woman is making bank. That's $4 million a year in today's money.
Yeah.
He actually decides to try and play with her and sell her one of these boxes. She figures out the scam, finds him, and he does something he never does. He gives the money back, and the two of them have a romantic relationship. He's
hilarious.
It's his Irene Adler.
Wow. Yeah, that's some Catwoman Batman shit.
And the two of them run around the country in Europe, like doing all kinds of shit.
Yeah. Selling boxes, as it were.
Yeah.
Listen, we're both in the business of selling boxes. Sorry.
So he has another accomplice he meets up with, a guy named, I think his name is Anthony Torbillen, but he goes by the name Dapper Dan Collins.
Nice.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Wow.
So this guy was a prohibition rum runner,
and a rug runner.
Some accounts say that he might have used U-boats to run rum.
What?
Submarines?
Sure.
I don't know. There's accounts of that happening during prohibition.
Well, we're saying it now. This accounts.
This guy joins them. They go off to Paris. And Lustig's like, what's my next scam? What's my next scam? I know. I'm going to sell the Eiffel Tower.
Yes.
So what he does is for historical context, at this time, the Eiffel Tower was not well liked. People thought it was ugly.
It was not for sale.
Yeah, it was only
really
like
talked about how much it liked Boondock Saints.
Sure.
Yeah, it was
just covered in Fight Club posters.
Yeah. Gaudy. It stunk.
For sure.
It smelled really bad. And if you touched it, it stung you like a jellyfish. It was awful.
Yeah.
It was, in fact, made of jellyfish. This was before they had the metal for it.
Yeah.
And so they just
he was always like,
in the right
you
shape.
can be your own box. Just buy this box of leggings. It's all above board. So anyway.
You can be your own box.
Boss. I said boss.
I thought you said you could be your own boss.
You said box too.
Well, I meant boss. I meant it as an
It's an Australia controversy.
Yeah.
Again.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, except I'm not too proud to admit my mistakes. Anyway, so his ploy is this. It's considered very ugly, the Eiffel Tower. It was only built 30 years prior. It was like a marvel of the Industrial Revolution, but the French don't like it. It's in disrepair at this point.
Philistines.
Yeah. So he is like, okay, I'm going to pose as a representative of the French government, and I'm going to get all of these metal, like scrap, like metal mongers together in a room in a hotel. And I'm going to say, listen, guys,
I was there for the Metal Mongers tour, by the way, in 98 with Ozzy and Metallica.
Those are two guys.
Those are good. Want more? Anthrax? That's one.
The Cure.
We're moving away. We're losing the thread. We're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to the story. He gets all these people in a room and he's like, listen, the French government's going to scrap this thing. And you guys can get a sweet deal on all this scrap metal. We're going to bid for the contract. So they all bid against each other. And he picks a guy who actually doesn't have the highest bid. He picks a guy named Andre Poisson, which is French for fish. So Albert Fish, Andre Fish.
See,
all coming back together.
He wants the metal from the Eiffel Tower to make knives and pins to put in his scrotum. Look it up.
Yeah, we're not here to talk about.
Don't look it up.
We're here to talk about Andre
I guarantee
Poisson.
that is actually true.
It is true. But so this guy, he's not as well established as a lot of the other people in the room, right? Sure. So that's why he picks him. He doesn't have as many connections or as much recourse. And he's like, okay, man, I like you. You're an up and comer. You didn't have the highest bid. But I'd like to give it to you. Maybe I can make the wheels turn a little better if you supply a little grease, give me a bribe and give me the money for the bid and I could give it to you. So the guy gives him a bribe. He gives him the money that he put in for the bid. And wouldn't you know it, Lustig fucks off with all that money. And he realizes something. This guy, Poisson, never reports what happened. Like, to save face, it never shows up in the paper. It's, completely unreported. So he's like, fuck it. I'm going to sell the Eiffel Tower again.
Wow.
He goes back and he does try, but this time the guy he picks is like, well, I want to conduct the finalization in like a government office. I want to do this, that, and the other.
Not in a hotel room.
And so Victor,
not the Rainforest Cafe.
Yeah.
Victor's smart. He's like, fuck it. I'm bailing on this car.
Match.
Yeah. But it's, still, pretty interesting. At this point, this guy's a legend. He's got mass imitators, people pretending to be counts, people like using the money box scheme. There's an account of one money box scheme where somebody incorporated fireworks somehow.
Incredible. Incredible.
He goes back to America. He's like, what else am I going to do? What else am I going to do? I know. I'm going to scam fucking Al Capone. So he goes to Al Capone.
This guy's like the fucking evil Knievel of Flim Flam, man.
He's like, listen, Capone, I got a beat on a great deal. You give me $50K, right? And I'll make this great deal go through. He puts the $50K in a safe deposit box, comes back 2 months later and is like, okay, the deal didn't go through. Here's your money back. This is just to establish that he's honest because he doesn't want to fuck too hard with Al Capone.
Yeah.
Because Al Capone will kill you.
Yeah.
That's on his business card.
He'll give you syphilis.
But he's like, I got more prospects though. You give me like, it's either 1,000 or 5,000. Like the amount is different just to like get these connections through and I'll come back to you. And Al Capone gives him the money and he fucks off with it. And he never like pulls through on like the next deal.
Sure.
And it's not a big score, but he did fuck with Al Capone.
Listen. He's making it.
Sometimes it's the quality, not the quantity.
He's going high on the wall here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you see like a big fight coming up in Skyrim. You turn down the difficulty. Like,
Yeah. So
if there's a cheese, you exploit it.
This guy, Lustig, also spends money big time and gambles big time. So sometimes he's still in financial duress, despite getting a lot of money.
I mean, I was goofing around, but he does seem to have like that daredevil gambling addiction kind of like rush that he needs.
Yeah. At this point, his wife has divorced him. He kept her in check for a while. Like while he was doing all of his affairs and running around, he like had a bodyguard for them, both to keep them safe from like, I don't know, potential people coming for his debts, but also to report to him if the wife ever got suspicious.
Sure.
But she eventually kind of puts 2 and 2 together and divorces him.
Oof.
But whatever. He moves on. At this point, he might be desperate for money. He goes to this businessman, Robert Kearns. He does something uncharacteristic.
That sounds like a fake name right there.
He gets a meeting with this guy, and instead of like stringing him along for his scam while the guy's out of the room, he like runs upstairs to this guy's room and steals like $16K. He just robs him.
Whoa, that's oof.
And this
Costless.
So he's like off his game a little bit at this point.
Yeah,
this guy is like getting the alarm up on him and like sending the law after him. And also at the same time, he brings back the money box scam because he's gotten in touch with counterfeiters, like really good counterfeiters, some of the best ever in American history. He's like working with and funding and helping to do the counterfeiting.
Lustig.
To the point that this is during the Depression and the government's like, these are so good, people might lose faith in the American dollar. And he's counterfeiting $100 bills. Like usually you counterfeit low bills because they don't get as much inspection, but he goes for hundreds.
Sure.
He does the money box scam again.
Stunt
on a sheriff. He's using counterfeit bills. Counterfeit bills find their way back to the government. And they're like, okay, now we know Lustig is involved in counterfeiting. We're sending the Secret Service after him.
Whoa. See, this would have never happened with the security of blockchain. Now let me tell you about how apes are the new money or whatever. I have not been paying attention.
So there's this guy at the Secret Service, Peter Rubano. He's got a name for himself. He took down some medium-sized.
Yes, Peter Rubano.
Yeah.
And Rubano's like, I'm gonna get this fucking Lustig character. And he's becomes his driving passion. And eventually he tracks him down, and on May 10th, 1935, he confronts him in the street, and Lustig gets arrested. Someone comes up behind him and taps him on the shoulder and says, "Put your hands in the air."
Wow.
He's surrounded and arrested.
I thought they were going to trick him into his own box or something.
So they put him in the Manhattan Federal Detention Center. What happens next is he escapes.
Of course.
He smuggles in some shit.
He's made out of smoke.
He cuts through the bars.
He just goes Banff and Nightcrawler's house.
Exactly. He uses his gambit cards to cut the bars.
Exactly.
And then he uses the bed sheets to create a rope and climb down. Now, this is in Manhattan, so it's very public. And there's a crowd around him. So he pretends to be washing the windows. When he gets down, he bows and runs away.
This is a fucking legitimate like Three Stooges episode. This is all that like. No way. This is like Mickey Mouse level shit.
So what does he do when the
These
guards
Scooby-Doo antics?
The guards come to check on him.
Yeah.
And what they find in his place is a note on his pillow that is a quote from the book Les Miserables.
Incredible. Wow.
They
look at each other and they go, "Son of a bitch, he's good."
If you would like me to read the quote real quick.
Yes.
Please.
Here is the quote. He allowed himself to be led in a promise. Jean Valjean had this promise. Even to a convict, especially to a convict, it may give the convict confidence and guide him on the right path. Law was not made by God and man. Law that was not made by God and man. Law was not made by God, and man can be wrong. Sorry for fucking up the last line, but essentially,
this is all still the note, right?
Yes. He revised it several times. He got it wrong. The last line is God. Law was not made by God, and man can be wrong. Again, this is a guy who's just stealing fucking shit from. It's not exactly like he's the virtuous.
And then
seriously, there was a drawing of Alpha from Power Rangers, I think.
This is like these are like Lupin level fucking shenanigans. This guy. I mean, if it ends well for him, I'll be so envious.
We're getting close to the end here. He saw the run. 3 weeks later, he's spotted in Pittsburgh. At which point the cops The cops chase down his car. They ram him off the road.
Yeah.
They pull open the door with their guns drawn. And Lustig says, "Well, boys, here I am."
Huh. Cool.
Oh, I was really hoping you'd say there was no one there.
I thought for real. Like it's getting to the point where it feels like he could have set up the car. It could be a magic trick. There could be just a joker.
It's a card. There's a card driving the car.
Congratulations, boys! You just arrested Victor Lustig's ghost.
So this guy, he gets sent to Alcatraz.
The big slam jam.
Yeah, when he gets there, he's sprayed down with cold water, and just to embarrass him, they walk him naked to his cell.
Inspiring Larry David to write the Shrinkage episode of Seinfeld.
Yeah. Well, the shrinkage is severe in this case because he gets very sick.
Oh no. Okay.
The worst kind of shrinkage.
Yeah. And inside shrinkage.
Yeah. Your life force.
The thing, you can't, he's like, "I'm really sick." And here's the thing. All the guards are like, "This is a con to let us let you go."
Nice try. Oh, there's a wolf in your cell. Yeah.
His ex-wife, Roberta, is actually working to free him. She still has feelings for him at this point. And she offers to pay $70,000. She's like doing all this stuff. And she gets his release date set for 1948, but Lustig's like, I am sick. I am not going to make it that long.
Yeah, sorry, I have to die.
So in late 1946, he wakes up with like severe swelling on his face. And then the guards are like, I guess this is real. He gets shipped to Missouri, and it's like, this guy has had untreated pneumonia for a while.
Oh, bummer.
So his daughter visits him a couple months after he gets shipped to Missouri at this medical facility. At this point, he is paralyzed and can't speak.
Wow.
But she, according to her, taps into his hand in Morse code, I love you, Daddy. And he taps back, I love you too, Ski. And dies 2 days later.
Wow. Broken hearted.
Yeah. So that is the sad end of the wild life of Victor Lustig.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Wow. And all that was left behind was the card that has the rules of Pinochle on it.
Was a note with the rest of Les Miserables.
And then they checked on his body and it was gone.
And then they published the note and realized it was written by Victor Hugo like 100 fucking years before that.
God.
Zach, thank you.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Of course.
Jordan, whenever you're ready.
Or so you think. That's what happened. The real truth is far more lascivious and sad.
Erotic. Oh, okay.
Erotic, but then happy again. You see, Lustig wasn't a count. That was a mistranslation. A vampire was, in fact, a vampire. A vampire.
Das Vampir.
Das Vampir. Now, a specific subspecies of vampire, though, a Somalian vampire, which is a vampire that needs to feed on money.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So Lustig, most of these events are true in some fashion, but what you don't hear is the secret history beneath it all, that almost every single one of his flim-flams, his heists, his capers, his shenanigans were in search of a dark place to spend the day.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And money to drink.
And money to drink. Yeah. I feel like a dark place to spend the day is not necessarily the hardest thing to find.
Well, you would think so, but you're not a Somalian vampire. You don't know how.
And I guess this was like
creeps in and bounces
the
off of people's watches,
which was when we had the sun surplus of the 1920s happen.
Seriously. Remember when that tanker full of sun tipped over?
Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy.
Well,
what happened was the Dust Bowl was going on and they couldn't see the sun. So the government was like, let's make more sun, but they made too much.
Yeah, made too much in an attempt to win the Dust Bowl. It's a football thing, right?
Now, when you say drinking money, how did he typically do that? Was it like, did he have like a magic bullet situation or
no?
Like
yes, precisely. Wow, that's interesting.
Like cocaine.
It was kind of a blend of that. Somalian vampires are the craftspeople of the vampire world, and they build these money boxes to replicate money. That's real, by the way. But for long, it's for existing for long periods of time away from money. You can have, a Somalian vampire can live off of a $5 bill for 100 years if they have one of those money boxes.
I very much want a Vampire the Masquerade expansion with the play sheet for the Somalian clan.
I just feel like $5 bill once every 12 to 18 hours. That's a low calorie diet.
Absolutely. Oh, they're not going to be living well. I'm telling you, it's, they'll be looking like chump change come the end of it, but it is, they dress very well. They gamble.
Can I ask you a quick question? How are Somalian vampires affected by inflation?
Okay.
I mean, we could go on to Bitcoin and NFTs, but we're just stick with inflation.
I think the longer a Somalian vampire lives, the more elaborate and flamboyant their dress and style of life becomes, because their thirst for money and extravagance gets more and more, and as inflation kicks in, like if Lustig would have survived to modern times, he'd be some sort of horrible, stretched thin, green-skinned cash monster. I think I think
Elon
inflation. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Boring through the earth in search of unfound cash deposits beneath Las Vegas.
SpaceX is just a way to find money in space.
Spot money from space. Exactly.
Or find it. Find another
Exactly.
culture. Get some space credits. That's tasty eating.
Exactly. They got bucks out there. Space bucks. My God, could you imagine?
They're called imperial credits, I think.
Yeah, you're right. And getting on the boats, of course we know there's no day at sea. If you're on a big enough boat, it's just the mist follows you.
Yeah, I have that Big Johnson t-shirt.
Yep.
There's no day at sea if you're on a big enough boat. Or whatever.
Yeah, no, that's it.
It's not the snappiest.
Sure, bilked these people out of their money, got the cash from Al Capone, and then eventually was draining so much money. And you're right, it was this kind of he had this kind of chamber, this money box that the cards went in. He would put all the money into it, and it would cut up the money, and then you pour the money into, whatever, some tequila, a little gin, and you have a night with it. You drink the money. And he was draining so much money from society that the government had to step in. And they said, you know what? We could kill you right now with our sun guns, which we have specifically for you money drinking sons of bitches.
And the Dust Bowl.
And the Dust Bowl. And to shoot the Dust Bowl when it comes to your city. It seems like they're gonna kill Lustig in this scene. but instead, who's the president from the past? Abraham Lincoln shows up.
Oh, okay.
Thinking that
you thought I was dead.
Exactly. You thought I was dead.
You thought I died 25 years before this man was born.
Yeah. But guess what? Abe is eating a roll of pennies.
The ultimate money vampire scam.
Oh my gosh.
Get your face on it. Unlimited supply.
Exactly. You're the ultimate
Rend unto
vampire.
Caesar what is Caesar's.
Precisely. And Lincoln and Lustig go on this beautiful partnership of counterfeiting money and rebuilding basically the American economy until one day, and eating the most incredible historical coins, the $10,000 bill. They split it like Lady and the Tramp. It's amazing.
So there's a bit of like a romance going on. Bit of
a romance. And then it all goes south. Nobody really knows what happened. They think it might have been a love triangle situation, but Lustig ends up on the wrong side of this deal. Off to the Rock you go. It goes to jail, and he's trying to tell them the whole time, I'm not human. You can't put me in this room where there's a little bit of sun coming in. You can't feed me this normal food that has, you guessed it,
no monetary value.
No monetary value. No money.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Now, commonly they say that the currency in prison is cigarettes. Can he eat cigarettes in prison?
Yes. As long as there is a value given to the item, Lustig was able to sustain himself by eating cigarettes for a little while, but it wasn't enough. And, he accidentally fell asleep in his cell one day to the point where the sun could just get him the next day. And that's when his daughter showed up, and his face was all swollen, not from the pneumonia-like symptoms that occur when a vampire is dying, but from acute sun poisoning.
Sure.
ASP.
And starvation, I imagine.
Yeah, it was a bad scene. However, there's a post-credit scene.
Oh,
They go to bury Lustig. You know, they're bringing the coffin out to the Hungarian box. What was it called?
Romanian box.
Yeah, out. They're bringing this pauper's coffin. The prisoners, his friends, Soapy, Knuckles, Fatso, and the gang.
Andre 3000
Wheels. Yeah. Yeah. And they're bringing him out, and they think that he's dead. The credits have rolled on Lustig's life, but then, so heavy. How's he so heavy? The handle busts off, falls, opens up. What falls out? Pennies. Lincolns. There's not a body anywhere.
Wow.
That's it.
That's the rest of the story is to be written.
Or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or is it? There was a body under the pennies, actually.
Yeah. I was actually.
yeah.
No, he's actually still in there. He's dead.
But pretty cool trick.
But pretty cool, right? Where did the lighter fluid come from?
Really makes you think. Also, I like how the implication of like anything that is given like a substantial like monetary, like how there's like a solid like year and a half in the 90s when you could have just eaten Pogs.
Beanie Babies.
Babies, yeah.
Did you
Sucking
see that?
down a Beanie Baby from the McDonald's drive-thru.
Did you see just going around again? Going around again. 3 more. Need those babes. Did you see the HBO thing about the Beanie Babes?
No, what?
It's wild. It's a documentary about Beanie Babies and just how the whole thing happened. It's crazy.
Okay.
It's basically cryptocurrency. It was just these people were like, hey, this is worth money now. And they were like, oh, okay. All right. And then people started to make money off of books predicting the price increase of Beanie Babies.
Yes.
And they're the ones that predicted a higher price increase would sell more because people thought that
They want to believe they're truly
they want to believe.
the Mulder or Scully or whichever one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it starts out Mulder, and then Scully really should believe by the end of the second season.
God, by the end of the 3rd episode, Scully should have reassessed her entire life.
I love the X-Files so much, and there was someone somewhere, I can't remember, who said it works so much better if after like the 2nd season you just assume Scully is fucking with Mulder.
It's funny.
Jordan, thank you.
Thank you.
Listeners, before we move on to the judgment phase, just want to say, hey, have you just want to say, hey, how you doing? Can I sell you a tower in France?
Yeah, right. That's incredible.
I don't have those con man skills, which is
all
fine.
to get enough cash for his daughter's bat mitzvah party. So everyone could drink delicious cash.
Listeners, if you haven't yet, take a few minutes, and we ask that you please write a review of this podcast on podcast service of choice. And written reviews are especially helpful. Just give us 5 stars. You can write whatever you want. You can write your favorite Albert Fish facts.
Mm-hmm.
You can write your favorite Albert Fish sticks.
Whether
favorite currency to eat.
Yeah.
Yep. most snackable currency. Whether we wanted it or not, we've stepped into a war with the cabal on Mars. You could do that whole thing. That's always good for taking up space.
You can pitch us erotic fan fiction about anything you want.
About lorem ipsum. Just go nonsense porn.
That's the thing about lorem ipsum porn. You don't even know you're reading porn until like 3/4 of the way through.
Until you're done.
When the word jizz first appears. That word that occurs in porn, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure they don't use like a more evocative term.
Yeah, they say oops like everybody else. They profusely apologize.
So many pornos have a scene where they have to kick the cat out of the room.
God.
You can also write us a letter through our website at revisionistpodcast.com. Just click on the contact page, or contact us on social media, Twitter or Instagram. Just search Revisionist Podcast, and do that also on Patreon if you want to give us some sort of monetary support, not for us to eat. Can't stress that enough, but for us to exchange for food.
I
I'm
gonna eat it.
For us to exchange for food, or like ones and zeros, I guess, since we mainly use it to pay for web hosting. Anyway, Jordan, you have a lot of projects going on the internet. You have Better Than Heroes, Werewolf Radar, Fight Island. Why don't you take us through those?
Oh, geez. Better Than Heroes is a D&D live play stream that I'm a part of every Monday with a bunch of other comedians. Twitch.tv/Better Than Heroes, 8 p.m. Mountain Time every Monday. We play Dungeons and Dragons in space. It's very fun. It's a lot of goofing around and losing the thread and then rolling some dice and enjoying a very good story. So if you like to laugh, come around and play some dang D&D with us.
It's also available on YouTube if you can't catch
this. Is true. Stream. That's true. And soon to be more, hopefully. So we're hoping to get an audio version out pretty soon. Okay. Werewolf Radar is my paranormal preparedness podcast that I host with fellow comedians Roger Norquist and Nate Balding. And it's exactly what it sounds like. If you have a problem with vampires, cash or otherwise, this is the podcast for you. You can follow us online. You can ask us questions about the paranormal, and we'll tackle it. We're not afraid.
One of my favorite memories of a bar in Denver that used to do comedy was Roger bringing a recording device to the basement of said bar.
Hell yeah.
Try to see if there were ghosts there.
Absolutely. We actually did. We took some weird recordings at in the basement of Comedy Works that we were kind of too afraid to listen to. We got like 4 hours of just
forward it to Zach Baggins, baby.
All right. We just left a recording down there and we split it up between us, but it was like really eerie just listening in the dark for any little thing. It freaks you out.
Yeah. And suddenly you hear Bobcat Goldthwait's voice.
Yeah. Police Academy. That's my Bobcat, apparently. Nothing but respect for the man. Anyway, Fight Island is another podcast. It's about fictional fights in the very real island where they take place. You can find that on the podcast maker. And I also have another Twitch stream where we play Curse of Strahd, which is a different D&D module and is a vampire hunting kind of situation. That's called Steak Night. And that's also on Mondays over on twitch.tv/werewolf_radar at 4 p.m. Mountain. Steak Night.
Nice.
It's a hell of a time.
Zach, you co-host The Movie Trap.
Yeah, it's a gamified movie podcast. The premise is that me and my two co-hosts, one of us picks a theme for a series of films, such as sports movies, or there's one where we let our significant others pick the film. Currently, we're doing a run where we are each from different cities, Chicago, New York, LA, and each of us pick a movie to represent our city, something like that. Then we vote on which was the best of the three movies, and the winner gets to pick the next theme. It's just an elaborate way to talk about movies on
I love it.
Speaking of Police Academy, also I was on the Police Academy.
Brian was on the Police Academy episode.
Nice, incredible.
That was our ACAB series.
Yep.
Oh, if the Police Academy can't fix it, and who can? That's all we need.
Actually makes it worse.
If every cop could just put away their gun and take out their sound effects making skills.
I've always said we're one mission to Moscow away from peace in the streets.
Citizens on patrol. Indeed. One big cop, one little cop. Come on, it's so easy.
Yep, that was our chant, a couple summers ago. Yeah. One big cop, one little cop.
Yeah, get Hooks and Hightower in there. They'll sort it out.
Oh, God damn it. Listeners, that brings us to
Tackleberry.
That brings us to the Tackleberry phase, or the Judgment phase, sponsored by Tackleberry.
I like how Tackleberry's gimmick was that he was a gun-happy fascist.
Yeah. Totally.
And he was a good guy. He was not the villain.
And Tackleberry, who's crazy.
The Tackleberry was the guy who didn't want any of them there.
Yeah.
Who didn't think they were fit to be police. Which is fucking crazy. It's like the tweet that was circling around like last week or something, where like the villain in Ratatouille just didn't want their food to be prepared by rats.
Tackleberry is not the villain. He's one of the recruits.
That's true. Yes. You're thinking of Lieutenant whatever, who was a dickhead. They have a similar face though.
Yeah.
I think, listeners, I'm going to have to cast my vote for the alternate history this time. Okay. Sorry. My screen disappeared for a second.
Sorry, there's someone here. Oh no, it's Lustig. He's stealing my vote.
Fucking Lustig. Listeners, voting is now open for you on Patreon. If you have, pledged any amount of money there, even as little as $1 a month, you can buy your right to vote. And voting will be open the Wednesday after this is released, 16th, for the final round of voting on our Instagram story. So check that out. But I think that will do it for us tonight. Jordan, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you for having me.
And Zach, thank you as always.
Yep, absolutely.
And for everyone here at the Revisionists, I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
And have a good time. February 5th, 1985. The mayors of Rome and Carthage sign a peace treaty, officially ending the Third Punic War, which had lasted 2,131 years. Just a day before People magazine was set to publish a profile of the war for its 2,132nd birthday. Damn it. Weird. February 5th, 1852. One of the largest and oldest museums in the world, the New Hermitage Museum, opens in St. Petersburg, Russia. The most popular item in the gift shop, a single potato. Last one.
They're going to run out of those.
And there's a potato stampede. Surprisingly common in Russian history.
I can only imagine. But if you're gonna offer a potato, you need to offer some potatoes. The word's gonna get out.
It's a very exclusive offer.
Yeah. Oof, bummer.
Last one.
That's what it was originally. That's what small potato is originally how you said fire sale. in Russian.
Is the potato gone?
Yes, I don't know why I did Italian hands for Russian.
Somebody, I think it's any hands of the impoverished masses.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yearning for some more than one goddamn potato.
Yeah, that's the Statue of Liberty's
How much
other
vodka can you
hand
make out of a single potato?
Just enough.
Oh man. Last one. Okay. February 5th, 1869. The largest gold nugget in history is found in Australia and named Welcome, Stranger, by a man who likes having sex with large gold nuggets.
That is a strangely eyebrow waggly name for your...
It was either that or the merchant from Resident Evil 4.
That was my joke. I had two takes on the joke. It was either the guy from Resident Evil 4 or the Australian Jed Clampett, and I wasn't sure.
Great minds.
I'll leave that one on the floor because we've already talked about it, I guess.
Wow. But that guy was both rootin' and tootin' that day.
You could put my spin on it in the bonuses at the end, I guess. All right. So I'll just do the other three.
Yeah.
February 5th, 1885, King Leopold of Belgium establishes Congo as... February 5th, 1885, King Leopold II of Belgium establishes the Congo as a personal possession, which he announces by going hexagonal and making it his profile pic on Twitter. February 5th, 1917, the Congress of the United States passes the Immigration Act of 1917 over Woodrow Wilson's veto, the culmination of a bet by Freddie Prinze Jr. to make Congress even more racist than Woodrow Wilson. And February 5th, 1919, Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks, and D.W. Griffith launch United Artists with a simple dream of one day being bought by Disney and sold for parts.
Mm-hmm.